Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another episode of African Changemakers, where we have out-of-the-box conversations with prominent leaders, leading personalities who are doing things to influence their space in a positive way. Today, I have yet another exciting guest in studio. I'm speaking to the CEO of Zambia Institute of Banking and Financial Services, the first woman to hold that appointment. This is none other than Mrs. Victoria Chanda Mumba. She has a bachelor's degree in business administration and MBA finance, and most importantly, according to me, the 2018 Push Women Awards recipient in the economic banking and finance category. Madam, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
So today we're speaking to you about mind over matter, discussing the power of the mind in pursuit of success. So before we get into it, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here. And like you said, I am Victoria Chanda Mumba, CEO of the Zambia Institute of Banking and Financial Services. This is a professional body that regulates the profession of banking and financial services. And being the first female CEO 26 years after its establishment was really a wonderful challenge in a way, and it really had a way to show me that the women can really do it.
Yes.
And also I double as a chairman of a standing committee for the Alliance of African Institutes of Bankers. And this is a committee that is in charge of developing the framework for banking education in Africa. And I also sit on a board for Global Banking Education Standards Board. So basically, I think that's what I'm all about in a nutshell from a professional point of view. Yeah.
And obviously for you to end up where you've ended up, it has been an intentional process. Because if it was something, easy, everybody would have been doing it. So that's why I want to talk to you about the power of the mind. How do we harness this power to be able to achieve that which we want to achieve?
This power, I always say that the mind is a volcano in the waiting. The way when a volcano erupts, normally you would not even know that there is a volcano forming up down there. That's how the mind is. And for me, I believe that whatever we feed into it will slowly take shape. It will multiply and it will blossom into something positive or negative. So with that in mind, I believe that everything starts in the mind. And it may sound like a cliche, but it's true. Success, failure begins in the mind. So when you are young, for instance, I had to realize early, who is Victoria? What does Victoria look like 10 years from now, 20 years from now? And visualizing that enabled me now to work backwards and say, what should I do now? And the mind in itself is the greatest engine, I think, in a human framework. Because if the mind is taken away from you, I think you are as good as brain dead. And it's a mind that distinguishes, creation. God created all things, including human being, all of them breathing, and they give glory to God. But the one thing that distinguishes every other creature from a human being is the power of the mind. A person is able to reason. A person is able to think of their environment and decide what to do. So I think, briefly, that's how strong the mind is. And I would love everyone listening to us right now to really understand that basic part, that it all starts with the mind. Yes, and it's a volcano in the waiting. That for me is the foundation of everything. So when you are looking at yourself now, if I look at myself now and I project 10 years from now, and I also go backwards, I should be able to visualize myself, to know where I'm coming from, where am I, where do I intend to go. And that works from the mind. Yes, it works from the mind. So we need to be conscious about what is going into the mind. It's input, output. What you put in is what you get out. And normally you sow a seed, it multiplies.
Exactly.
So what you put in the mind will definitely multiply. It will come to in a great measure, shaken together and running over. So if it's positive, it will be running over. And even the Bible says, I'm a Christian, and I believe that, what we ask God for, He gives us in greater measure than we ever thought. That's what the Bible says, than you can ever think
Exactly.
or imagine. So that's the mind God is talking about. And when God was creating, the earth, and he created the human being at the end of it all, then he said, God thought to himself, this is good. So God thinks. And because we are a replica of God, God gave us that gift that he didn't put in any other human being, to think. So let's know that whatever we put in our minds, it will multiply.
Amen.
If you see yourself as a leader, it can only get better.
Yes.
Because already you've sown a seed. And no single seed, if you plant a seed of maize or beans, you will not get one.
It's true.
You get so
It's
much.
multiplication.
Yes. So when you are sowing a seed into yourself, know for a fact that it will multiply, positive or negative.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a biblical principle. You will reap what you sow. You cannot sow maize and reap an apple.
Yes.
It doesn't work like that. And then the next question, I feel like you've answered it a little bit, because I was going to ask you about how you can be intentional about what you put in your mind. Because like you said, if it's negative, you will give birth to a multitude of negativity. If it's positive, the same applies. But there's so much information. We're polarized with so much. There's social media. There's friends. There's family. We are being told who we are supposed to be. How do you be intentional about who you're supposed to become? Sometimes even going against your present circumstances. How do you become intentional about what you put in your mind?
It's very easy to think negatively. You need no effort whatsoever. You need no effort, and most of the negative thoughts go undetected. The negative energy goes undetected. So for positive energy, for positive thoughts, you need to be cautious about it. Consciously making an effort. So it does not come, just like, okay, I'll be here, I'm a very positive person. If somebody says they are positive in nature, they labored to get to that point.
Yeah. Yes.
Because naturally, we are, created in such a manner, especially after the fall of man. And I love mostly referring to the Bible.
Please.
We went into the negative side of what God didn't intend. So it's very easy for a human being actually to be negative. It's very easy to be the bad person. And it takes courage, consciousness to be a positive side.
Yeah.
Of the human being that God wants us to be. So for us to really be intentional about it, we first of all have to realize that it's very easy. What am I thinking about? You have to ask yourself, what really occupies my thought pattern? Otherwise, without that intention, we cannot even know. It will go undetected. And thoughts form feelings. And when you are thinking in the mind, you develop pictures and images of something, and that image that you're having in your mind will come with its feelings, and those feelings will enable you to either change from the positive or the negative in an instant. It's amazing how that the mind can enable a human being to switch between the two extreme feelings, the positive and the negative.
Right.
So we have to be very, very cautious about what we are getting into it. I'll give an example as we are speaking, and I know that with our colleagues who are listening to us right now, this is an exercise that I would love you to carry on every day, maybe more than once a day. Sit and say, okay, let me really assess if the mind has got power. Go into your memory lane as I'm speaking right now. Try to pick a very positive encounter that you've ever had in your life. Maybe you may be sick or you're feeling discouraged or whatever. In a split of a second, pick a positive encounter. And already you can visualize it. So it gives you an image. Then it gives you emotions. And with that emotion, you have the attitude and action. So it's a thought, the image, the feelings that come with it, then the action.
Yes.
So already some of you are smiling because you're able to really, that was nice. And, I felt like this, or I achieved, or I graduated, or that seemed difficult, but I conquered, That's how powerful the mind is. And in the same instance, if I really provoke, because we live in a very, very difficult world, to say pick a negative situation, or there'll be hundreds of them. And already you even forget about the positive, thought that you had, and you start thinking, how I cried. And some of you will even start shedding tears just with a thought. It's not happening there. It happened a long time ago. Probably it's not even present. It's gone. But you'll be able to switch between those two emotions with the mind.
Exactly.
And it's very, very important to really be cautious about what we feed our minds with.
Absolutely amazing. You make it sound so simple, you know, and very logical as well. So, you know, sometimes you want to use the power of your mind to achieve what you want to achieve. You know, you have a certain goal, and then you harness that thought process to sort of get you to taking the steps towards actually actualizing whatever your goal is. But before you even get there, how do you establish what it is that you want? You know, like, what do I want to become? I may look at you and say, she's successful. And that may corrupt my thinking because I think I want to be like her. But not two experiences are the same. So how do you use your mind to
values? You know, sometimes it's family values, culture, the home background, all those things, you know, shape us. And that's why whenever I have an opportunity to talk to parents, it said shape your children as early as they are able to communicate to you, because it starts from there. You know, so the values are the ones that shape us. A vision, I would love to call a vision as the end you. That's the ultimate you. And that's what you want to become.
Yes.
So a simple example I would give, if you are traveling and from Lusaka to Ndola, Ndola is your vision. It's the ultimate destination. How are you getting to Ndola? Those are the goals. You can either fly there, you can either drive yourself there, you can get on public transport, or you can take a train, or you can walk. Those are goals now. So how do we get to knowing what you need to do, what you need to be? Because not one success story is another person's success story. We are totally different. And let me mention that even in mentorship programs, we do not in human being. Rather, we try to complement what that human being is all about so that they can come out greater, probably even greater than the mentor themselves. So if you look at yourself from your values, your culture, and looking at now your surrounding, people who inspire you, all that shapes us. How do you see yourself? What gives you a passion? Because, you know, a vision should give you passion.
Yes.
You should enjoy seeing yourself 20 years later and say, oh, wow, that looks great. You feel satisfied in the now for the future that you are yet to see. So the vision is what enables us to know what it is that you want to do, how you want to become, who you want to become. So do not intend to be a Victoria, because Victoria may have had so many hurdles that you don't want to go through to be here today. But you can be inspired by a story.
Exactly.
And the story should make you greater than what Victoria is calling a success story. So when we get to that vision now, you start, whether it's a great entrepreneur, whether it's a person in the formal, you know, setup, you see yourself as such, then you establish yourself, then you set now plans. So, okay, if I want to be like this 20 years from now, what should I do within 10 years to get to 20 years? What should I do within 5 years to get to 10 years? And what should I do now? Is there anything I can do now to build on to that so that I can see the ultimate me?
Exactly.
Yes.
I love that. You must be able to see yourself at the end.
Yes.
You see your vision and be able to see it. And now start taking the steps towards getting there, which are your goals. Yeah, I mean,
so you see the end from the beginning.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. It's biblical.
It's biblical.
Right?
God saw us
faith.
before He formed us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue this amazing conversation with Mrs. Victoria Chanda Mumba on the other side. So stay with us on African Changemakers.
Who are we? What are we about? Say you want to learn about business or get latest news updates in business news, social and economic issues, stock exchange, latest exchange rates, and all financial matters, or you want to learn on how to manage your money from savings, banking, insurance, to maybe our new traditional way of doing things like village banking. And if you're like me, planning and constantly making sound financial decisions is essential. So I need to keep abreast with upcoming investments, taxes, technology, or entrepreneurship prospects. Interesting, right? So what if I told you by just one click you can learn from mining, agriculture, tourism, manufacturing services, and yes, entertainment industries. After all, the more you know about money, the better financially you will be. So who are we? What are we about? Millennium TV, your first business and financial news television channel. Catch us on Top Star, Channel 95, or follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Millennium TV, we mean business.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to African Changemakers. The show is powered by Absa Bank PLC, and we continue our conversation with Mrs. Victoria Chanda Mumba, CEO, Zambia Institute of Banking and Financial Services, and we're discussing the power of the mind. So before the break, ma'am, we were talking about visualization. You know, I think it's a very important tool to use your imagination so that you're able to picture yourself where you want to be before you even get there. So I just want you to just elaborate on that point. How do we use imagination as a power of the mind to help us see more clearly who we are supposed to be?
I'll borrow from the field of architecture. They give us a blueprint of every building. We see that even the road networks, you see something before it comes into being. And even from a biblical point of view, God had a meeting with himself, the Trinity, and saw a human being before man came into being. You know, and he appreciated what he saw and now formed a human being.
Exactly.
So when we look at ourselves, how do we get to that point where you see and you love, you know, the power of imagination? Everything, you know, anything positive or negative comes from an imagination. Even the wars that we see in the world over, somebody imagined. You know, we say that everything is from a thought, an idea, and then it's birthed into something that you see. So if the power of the mind is that critical, then you can make or create. You know, when God created us, he gave us power as humans to co-create. He gave us that element, and that's another gift. So we create into being what we see. You know, I love the one saying that Bruce Lee talked about. He said, do not say anything negative about yourself, even if it's a joke, even if you're joking, because your body does not know that language. It will pick it.
Wow.
You say, oh, you are useless. The body will say, oh, yeah, I'm useless. Or you are sick. See how that imagination, even if you are not feeling too well, and you dwell on it and say, oh, I'm feeling so sick, and you can see yourself in the sick bed, you get there eventually. And in the positive, it's the same. So sometimes when they tell us that the mind is that powerful to create, to imagine, and you harness it to bring something now into the physical, it sounds like a joke, but it's very, very true. Because God respects his principles. So if he gave us that gift, it's from the mind that you speak. Even the Bible says, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So there is something that is in there. Then you speak it into being. Most of creation, besides the human being, God created by word of mouth. And it was from what he saw. He visualized. So even in our lives, it's not just the spiritual side. Even the physical side, our social side, we can create certain things into being from our minds. Because if I see myself as a failure, I will definitely bring it into being. From a practical point of view, what I normally do when faced with, with a challenge, and it's not easy sometimes to be in these offices. It can be frustrating sometimes. Sometimes you don't even feel like getting out of bed in the morning. And then I love calling a meeting with myself and then ask myself, okay, this is so challenging. But what if I succeeded? How would I feel? How will it look like? So I'm imagining something now, something good, and said, okay, if I succeeded, it would be so beautiful. Then I work backwards and say, Victoria, get out of bed. If you succeed, this is how it looks like. Go out there. and apply yourself once again. Try yet again, just like that. So you ask yourself every time this question, what if I succeed? If you want to give up right now or something seems challenging, you feel you are stagnant, tell yourself, if not I, then who?
Exactly.
If not now, then when?
And when? Exactly.
If I give up, then who will do it? What if I succeed?
Yes.
And those, if you have answers to those, 4 questions, then it's enough reason for you to get up, because you are able to see the end from the beginning.
Exactly.
The power of visualizing the you from the present, you see it in the future, then you bring yourself backwards and say, now do this for you to experience that.
Very, very powerful. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I'm learning to do as well, visualization. And I read some text which says that when you visualize, you must actually visualize how you will feel when you get there. Like just allow your mind, your body to feel. If it's joy, if it's happiness, you allow yourself to feel it. And now, you get passionate and motivated to start working towards it. And you also alluded to something very important. You talked about positive affirmations. In the face of so many negative things, so many challenges, it's important to use positive affirmation as a way of helping you navigate some of the challenges that we often face and that you face as a leader. How can we harness that particular tool of positive affirmation, especially now, in the face of so much of crisis that we're going through? How can we harness that tool?
We need to learn to speak to ourselves. Before you speak to another person, before you encourage another person, are you able to get the same message to yourself and you believe it? So if you are not able to convince yourself, how then can you convince another person? So first of all, have a meeting with yourself. We start, that as a practice. It may be a minute, and just sit yourself down. And you can only be as true to yourself than you can be to anybody else. I do that very, very often, actually. And sometimes I believe in the principle that says, write your vision, make it plain. So I believe in writing, seeing something from my mind, and I write it down. So when I'm faced with a situation, I would first of all speak to myself before I seek counsel or I seek encouragement from another person. Because I would imagine, okay, if another person was in this situation, what would I say to them? What would make sense? Can I believe myself if I encouraged myself? And in order for me to see it from the third person within me, I would write it down back to myself. So you tell yourself, this you can do. And I did that 2 days ago. You feel so overwhelmed, there's so much to do. And I stand in my bedroom. I said, okay, Victoria, are you afraid? Am I able to answer that question? Yes, I feel afraid. I feel a little afraid. And I'm writing. Yes, okay, is this situation real? Yeah, yes, it seems real. Have you faced anything worse than this? Oh, yes, I have. And already you are getting motivated. That's a meeting with yourself. Oh, yes, I have. If you face something worse off than that, did you conquer it? Yes, I did. This too shall pass. Then this you can conquer. This you can get over. So you speak to yourself. And like I said, don't tell yourself things that you don't want to see materialize in the physical. Your body language will not know that. Do not speak what you wouldn't want to see yourself become.
Right.
No matter how difficult it seems, speak out of faith. You are not like despising or forgetting that there is a real situation. You are not ignoring, adversity. When you ask yourself, are you afraid? Yes, I am. You're already acknowledging that there's a situation. Already, that's a starting point for you to start doing something about it. And when you acknowledge that it's there, then you believe that the same God who helped you get over a worse off situation will do much more now. So have you conquered something greater before, Yes, I have. Okay, then this too shall pass. And immediately I felt rejuvenated, I felt energized, and I got on to my work without speaking to any other person to encourage me. And I have those notes on my phone. That's how I use my phone and my laptop. The notes, I write to myself. There are a lot of notes like that, speaking to myself. Positive affirmation, tell yourself you can do this, and you are birthing it. Even if you don't feel like it. They say confidence, act it. So you can act out confidence. Once, twice, it becomes you. Yes. Exactly. So speak well of yourself. Speak what you want to see, despite the present circumstances.
Fake it until you make it.
Until you make it.
It's like the story of David. You know, he knew he could conquer Goliath because it says, "I have conquered the lion and the bear. I have faced worse things in my life.
Yes.
Surely, I'm able to overcome."
Who is
this
Goliath?
thing." Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, amazing. You see, when you figure out the internal stuff, you know who you are. You know where you want to get. Often you have other people who you may need in your life to help you to get to whatever that vision is, to buy into it. So how do you transmit, you know, what is inside outward so that people are able to buy into your vision? Those people who may need to participate into actualizing what is in your mind. How do you do that?
You know, that's why I said we need to run our own race, but we are aware that we need to be inspired by other people, and we can be greater than anybody we can ever see. But we need to be consistent. So it still gets back to the issue of consistency. Because if I cannot convince myself that this is what I believe in, how then will I convince another person to say, buy into my dream?
Yeah.
You know, Victoria sees herself as this person, and you expect that person to keep reminding you, to no, you are great, don't give up, you are great. But if you believe in yourself and be consistent on that dream that you have, be consistent on that vision that you see, no matter what, that consistency will bring out something. You start acting that way. It will be very easy for another person to believe you. Actually, they'll say, we've seen a great person there. Before you actually even feel it, because you are consistent in what you're doing. You live within your values. You cannot be this one person here and another on the other side. How do you see yourself from different places? So I think I still get back to a point where I would say convince yourself first before you can convince another person. Because it's very easy to live a lie or to speak a lie, you know, in the presence of another.
Yes.
But to yourself, start convincing yourself. You are the greatest asset you have. You are the greatest mentor. You are the greatest person that should celebrate you. And I always say that if you do not change you, not even the change in a digit of your age can change you.
Exactly.
So it starts from within. Be consistent on what you see yourself as. Be consistent on what you believe in. Be willing to learn. Because sometimes we block ourselves when we say, no, I see myself as this, therefore I just stand on this. Without learning new things, the world is continuously evolving. We have people who have gone before us. We have peers. We have even those who are coming behind us.
Yes.
We should keep our eyes open. So what can I learn? What new thing can I learn to make myself better and help me achieve, that particular vision? Preparation also. Because if I see myself in a certain light 5 years from now, what should I do now? How am I preparing for that? God is not a magician. God works on opportunities, but opportunities should find you prepared.
Exactly.
So if you want to be somebody tomorrow, prepare today. It doesn't come like magic. You have to sow a seed. You have to sacrifice for it. So be consistent. Be willing to learn. Learn from others. Convince yourself first. Then another person can buy into your story and say, yes, we believe you. Speak good of yourself. Others will believe you as well.
Very true.
Yeah.
And how have these principles worked for you in your journey? I mean, to sort of help you get to become the leader that you are and continue to become. Is this something that you had visualized, something that you had done intentionally, that you knew before you became, the person that we know today, that this is what your journey would look like?
My father taught me something very young, may so rest in peace. He made me see me as a girl child in the light of a human being, not from the lenses of gender. And I was born after four boys. So he taught me that you can do what a man can do, and even better. So right from that age, I learned to fight. The journey hasn't been smooth.
Of course.
It's had hurdles, but those have been stepping stones. So when I look at moments like that in my life, and also now, I would be in a boardroom where I'm the only female, but I would not start, throwing a pity party, giving up excuses. I would let work speak for myself. So stopping seeing myself from a gender lens and seeing myself as an equal human being who should be able to apply themselves has really helped me. So if I'm in a boardroom where I'm the only female and I need to speak to these great men, I'll stand there as a professional.
Exactly.
And I will not give excuses. So stop saying sorry about what you're not. Believe that what you have You deserve it. Do not give excuses for your success. Affirm yourself and say, yes, you deserve this. And let the work speak for you. Let the excellence speak for you. So that has really, really helped me a lot.
Amazing. And to our audience who are watching and thinking, these things that she's talking about only happen to people like her, how can you encourage them to, unlock the power of their minds in their journey, whatever it is that they're pursuing? How can they go about it practically? And I'll invite you maybe to look into that camera and just speak directly to them.
Victoria is a girl child like you, if you're a girl child, or if you're a male from a humble background, and believing that you can be. And if you've seen others become, then you can do anything they've done and even better. And what man has done, man can do and even better. That includes a female.
Yeah.
So whatever you are able to do now, visualize yourself, but act on it. Vision alone does not achieve results. But when you attach goals to that and you act on it, you be accountable, responsible, and consistent, you will find yourself achieving. So it's not difficult. At the same time, it's not easy. There's work to be done, but consciously check what is going into your mind.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mom. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always availing your time to be a friend and a mentor within the Push Women Network, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kano, for having me. It's a great honor and privilege to be here always.
Always a pleasure. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. We've come to the end of yet another